everyone. Welcome to Ladies in Logistics, the podcast where we tell the real stories of women moving freight, leading teams, and building power in one of the toughest industries out there. I'm Hannah Hurckes, founder and CEO of Boss Lady Logistics, and every week I sit down with women who are doing the work on the floor, in the boardroom, and everywhere in between. This isn't about titles or highlight reels. It's about how we got here, what we learned the hard way, and how we're changing the industry by showing up exactly as we are. And if you're enjoying these conversations, make sure to hit the follow button so you don't miss what's next. Let's get into it. My guest today is Paula Ventura, a commercial truck sales specialist at Rush, the founder of Ventura Consulting Solutions, and a certified 10X coach. Hi, Paula. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Hannah.
All right, let's just get right into it. I'm so excited. Paula, I've known for a couple years now. She is absolutely incredible, killing it in the trucking world, and I can't wait to hear her story and share it with everyone. All right, Paula, first things first, how did you get into this industry?
Thank you for asking that. So, first of all, it's a pleasure to be on your show. I've seen you out there in the Women in Trucking organization and at events, and I just really appreciate what you're doing in highlighting women in this field. As you said, it is not an easy field, right? And so, I think most of everybody, we just kind of land on it somehow. It was a part-time entry position for me at a dealership in California, and that's how I started. And within 2.5 years, I was running my own dealership.
Wow, 2.5 years. That's incredible. How did you get from nothing to 2.5 years later running your own dealership?
I think it's the main thing is what you find is that owners of companies have a problem and they're looking for solutions. And it was a great opportunity for me because he didn't discriminate. This is back in, 30 years ago. So I was the only female at the dealership that was outside of the admin department. So all the women were squirreled in the administration department, and 85 other employees in parts, service, sales. None of them were women. So I was fortunate that he didn't have any bias, and I really needed to make money. And here we are.
Oh my gosh, that is just incredible. And I mean, a feat for you, obviously, coming into a male populated field and being able to just kill it right off the bat. I mean, that's just obviously a testament to who you are as a salesman and as a human. So when we think about those first roles that kind of bring us into the industry and get us started, when during your career did you realize that you were capable of more? I'm going to assume it was probably from the start, right? But I'd love to hear what you say.
So I think I want to say that the first thing I realized, because I was in the lease and rental operation, and it was all the phone calls are men and they needed to move a product and so we had to really learn how to qualify. And I think this is the important, is you have to understand that our job is to learn the customer's jobs, their needs, and be helpful in that matter. And I took a liking to understanding how they can move their product, right? They're renting trucks from us. How are they going to do it? So that was the first thing. And I think with that, I immediately found success because you're asking who, what, when, and how. And with that, I could be helpful. Again, I just found that I was always chasing that next level of income and asking, how do I do that? Like I wasn't asking what the job was, but how can I make that kind of money? And that led me for him saying, well, this is what this position does. And just really understanding it was helping the customer all the way along. And it was just different titles,
Mhm.
meaning the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's incredible, and I think that a lot of leaders lose sight of that when we are in the industry, especially like if as women we have children, we have bills to pay, we have food to put on the table. There's a lot of expectations put on us as women, and so when we also are in the workforce, we have a whole nother level of expectations that are placed onto us by external people and then also internal within our own circle. And I feel like, to your point about it's solution oriented, right? Like we're looking for solutions for the customer and not necessarily, the title or the level or et cetera, et cetera. What solutions can I provide to you that will then help me and my success in my career? And so it is really a give and take when you're working with people like that. And I really appreciate you saying that. That's incredible. So when you first joined the industry 30 years ago, That was a different time. I wasn't in the industry 30 years ago. And so I can only imagine some of the challenges that you faced as a woman. Could you maybe share a little bit about some of the challenges you faced either earlier in your career, later in your career, things that kind of shaped you into who you are today?
I think the biggest thing was it was the isolation. Because I did go to accounting in niche for a period of time, and within that, you're a group, you're a cohort of women, and so it was very the what I struggled because I was in my 30s, and it was how do I fit in when all of the managers were male, and so you didn't have the camaraderie of let's go out to lunch and let's do that. I did have a sense of I didn't want to make sure that people understood that I got there, not just because of who I was as a woman or my looks or anything else, that it was because I was working really hard. So the mistakes I made was being too focused on that and not collaborating. Because I think, too, the reason I got in this room was because a male invited me in the room.
Hmm.
And so I didn't need to justify why I was there. I was hardworking. I was making money for the dealership. I was taking care of problems. I had earned the right to be there. And it took me a minute to understand that I needed to accept myself being in the room.
Yeah.
That was a self thing. That wasn't an impose on anybody. And then I realized that once a few years into the job, I realized that actually being a woman was the advantage because I had a different perspective when we were having management meetings at around the dealership, what we could do. My perspective was always going to be different. But it does take courage because you're going to sound different to come out and say it differently. And that was actually, I think, the what helped me be successful was that I had different ideas, different solutions for the problems. And it was always about a win-win. I didn't have to be the right one or the wrong one. I just was like, I think you're here and you're here. I think somewhere in the middle is a win-win for everybody. Like, can we work this out?
Hmm.
And because I managed a lot, all of my employees were male except for a few, maybe two admin individuals. I found that I really did relate very well with the men in regards to having career paths for them. So what I really enjoyed when I was a manager was being able to sit down and figuring out where did somebody personally wanted to go in their career goals and working it backwards and saying, okay, here's the path that I believe can get you there for you and your family. I enjoyed that tremendously.
Yeah, and I mean, that's incredible. And now you've turned that into a new career with your consulting. And I've got to say, a lot of the things that you have to say are so incredibly profound. And I love what you said about, accepting ourselves. And I think that a lot of women, and I know I felt that way when I first joined the industry, I felt like my gender was a disability and that I had some type of, crutch, let's say, that I was always walking around with because of my gender. And to your point of the camaraderie, the guys are going to invite the guys to go do the guy things, and we're not going to be included. And maybe it's not necessarily malicious to disclude us, but we are very much outnumbered, and the isolation, like you said, can feel very overwhelming. And so I really love these kind of conversations with women where we can sit down and say, we're not alone. We hear you. I love you. Like leadership is for the women. And we definitely bring a different lens. And it is our asset. Like being women is our asset. And I've said a million times, like we are as women creators. And men, I feel like lean a little bit more towards competition and we lean a little bit more towards creation. And I think that's just like an animal thing because we are women and we are the ones who give birth, and so it is in our nature to create and want to grow more for people. And I think what you're doing with your consulting is incredible because you're actively wanting to help people start, grow, continue. Can you tell us like a little bit more about your consulting so that our listeners can hear about it?
Thank you. So in my consulting, it's actually the same in my truck sales as it from the standpoint of my mindset is to always understand who you are, what's holding you, and how can we improve upon that, right? So when I look at my truck sales, I'm not trying to sell you a truck. I'm trying to build a relationship. I want you to text me if there's something wrong. This is not a one and done. This is a relationship that we're building. And so I was doing that with my commercial trucks and my fleet sales, and I'm asking questions and I'm handling problems. I always tell them, I am your account manager. I am where the buck stops. I don't want to just sell you a truck. If you're having problems with parts and service, whatever that is, when you don't know who does what, you call me. Like that's who I am for you. Like the one stop, And then, but what I've realized then is when we're talking about in a lot of body company upfits or small business women in logistics, I have a few customers in that area. We tend to want to do everything ourselves, and we forget how to put systems in place, put SOPs in areas, and then assign somebody to learn it, and then kind of step away and then rise to the occasion, just like what you're doing with your career, right? You have all these things going on, but you can't do everything, Hannah. So you have to learn it. And I think that's something as a mother, right? As a wife, I've always owned businesses. My husband and I owned a landscaping company for 27 years. I've always said, like, look, there's a finite time in my life. So somebody else has to do the doing, and let me help you do that. But also finding it where it's the things you like. A lot of managers or a lot of owners, they give away the things that they don't like and hang on to everything else. And you say, no, it's not what you don't like. It's what somebody else can do better than you, what somebody else should be doing it on a daily basis, and allowing you to free yourself to think to the bigger picture. So that's what I really enjoy with my consulting businesses. And I target a lot on sales and marketing because that's how I've made my living. And that's really my passion is sales and marketing.
That's awesome. And I mean the shift between, and I talk about this a lot, the shift between being an operator to being a leader is so incredibly hard. And to your point of like we want to hold on to like things that we want to control when in order to be a leader, in order to grow, in order to scale, especially at a fast rate, you really do have to delegate and you have to learn how to delegate and you have to trust people when you delegate. And so I think it's wonderful what you're doing for everyone. We work with a lot of owner operators in my business, and a lot of them really don't have that knowledge of, who do I call when I have a breakdown? Where is the best place to get, my transmission fixed, etc. Because there are a lot of strategies like that new time owners of trucks just don't know. And in order to be an owner of a truck or an owner of a fleet, you really have to have that knowledge. And so, kudos to you to being able to provide that to drivers and to companies because I think it's completely underestimated the value there. And speaking of being underestimated, I would love to hear how you handle being underestimated.
I think you show up, you do it, and it just quiets the noise.
Yeah. I mean, well said. It's
Just
it's a hard thing and it's all about mindset. It's all about, where you are at with your mind, where you're at with your acceptance of yourself and your abilities and your limitations, right? And I think that like that's the thing. We all kind of want to do things ourselves, but just showing up is and being unapologetic about it is, I mean, it really is the best way to do it. So, with that being said, we've talked a lot about leadership, and I know that you're a leader and you've led teams, and you teach people how to be leaders. What is one leadership lesson that you had to learn the hard way?
um gosh, that's a good question. Um, I think that is to be a little easy on yourself because actually, incredibly, myself, yourself, we're very driven. We have such tremendous expectations of ourselves. And I think is to just be a little nice to us. Give us some
Absolutely.
grace, right? I am so demanding. So I got to tell you that what I've done to combat the this in me is, I write down I'm a 10x business coach. So of course we're very goal focused. We think 5 years out. We break it down into goals. What is 1 year, 3 years, and so forth, right? So that in itself make us consistently chasing the new thing, and that's where you can get to a place where you're unhappy because it's not that you're unhappy with where you're at. You may be grateful, but you're not content,
Hmm.
right? So then, okay, that could be some problems. So what I've started doing, I also do a gratitude journal, and I start my morning. It's my cup of coffee, my tea, and I sit down and I talk about, and I just bring them what I'm grateful for, right? The multitude of health, wealth, family, and you just so that you can really ground yourself and like Thank you. I am just so blessed to be here right now. And then I proceed to write down, but I want this and this and this.
I love that. And let me tell you, I start my day with a gratitude journal as well. And it really is the best way to start your day to, like you said, ground yourself. Even if it's just like, oh, yesterday was really, really hard and I don't have anything to be grateful for. Like, I woke up this morning, I'm breathing. Like, my kids are alive, my dogs are alive, I have a roof over my head. I mean, it could be as little as I've woken up. And I think that's where people get hung up on the journaling part of it. I'm a huge, huge proponent of journaling as well, and writing everything down, because once it's written down, it is real. It is in real life. It's no longer just here. It's in the physical world. And once it's in the physical world, you can't really help but, you know, become it. And so I love that you're a 10x coach. I absolutely love 10x. I think I might have like a book, Grant Cardone's 10x book, right behind me. I think he speaks about a lot of great things, and I think that you being a 10x coach is incredible. Is that something that people can reach out to you for, to like get 10x coaching?
Yes, they can. BCS
Awesome.
is based on that, the 10X. So, and how I found that is because I wanted, I'm doing all the studying with Cardone University and all the books and all of that. That's really has helped my sales skill tremendously and my mindset on a day-to-day basis. And I really wanted to be, and I think so. I think where people need to understand is we have to be in the right rooms and with the right people, right? People that lift us up and that are out there doing exactly what we're wanting to do, because it's like being where people understand you. There's a lot of people that down, oh, why do you want to do that? Why aren't you happy? Why you've done so well, right? And it's usually the close circle, our family members and stuff, people that don't understand why do we keep pushing. And so, if you want to keep pushing, if you want to have these different things, you have to be in a room of other people that have that same thing. And that's the reason why I'm a 10X coach, is because it's this room of people that understand that we're blessed and we're thankful, but we're not done.
Yeah, I love that. And that's incredible. We have to keep pushing. We have to keep striving. The sky is the limit. And just because we've accomplished one thing doesn't mean that we can't continue to accomplish things. We literally live one time. Like, that's it. We get one life. That's it. And, the average life is what, 70 years? And so, what are we doing with that? I was reading a book recently called 4,000 Weeks, and it's about the 4,000 weeks that we get in our lives, and making the most of every single week. So, I really love that, because there's no reason why we couldn't just keep creating. What other, podcasts, books, leadership tactics do you like to read or listen to?
I listen to, my children have laughed because I'm always on the self-help. I have not read anything that isn't self-helped forever, and there's a lot of great books out there. But I would just say, look at a book, you think it's 10, 15 bucks, whatever that is, or if it's on audio. What is it that you're going to learn from that you didn't know? Like, look for the one thing that you could do, that you could implement right now in your life. And that's what always I'm looking at. I'm looking at these books, and I love reading. I have always as a child. And I'm always like, okay, what is somebody, there's no reason for us to have to learn everything the hard way. The easiest way is to do something that somebody else already has done,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right? So
Couldn't have
even
said
with
it
this
better myself.
podcast, right? Like, this podcast is another way, right? So here's two women who've done different things and learned it, and you can listen to this and in 30 minutes get one thing that you got out of it, right? And even if I started out as a part-time rental agent, the lowest position you could start at that dealership. And I became the fourth highest paid employee. And I had many careers. I ran the dealership. I ran a fleet of 400 trucks. I was the top female in the country of selling trucks for Isuzu. Now I'm with Rush. And that, even this process is starting all over again, right? I had such a successful career, but I wanted to move to Texas to be near my grandkids. So I walked away from a book of business of 27 years, a comfortable position where I had everything set up for me and it was plug and play, to come to Texas and start all over again. But how privileged am I to be doing that, right? And to join a great organization like Rush, that sky's
Hmm.
the limit. But I'm starting all over again with new contacts and reaching out to businesses. And I'm excited because I haven't done it before. And if I can do it a second time, I'm going to do it better than I did the first time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's incredible, having to reinvent yourself, but knowing that you have the skills and the ability to make it work. And I think that comes back to mindset. A lot of women and men, frankly, get very comfortable in their positions and feel like they can't leave to pursue something that is very personal and important to them. I know I've made decisions for my career over the years that has kept me working from home with my dogs barking in the background so that I can be here when my kids get home from school. And that is what I value. And not that I wouldn't love to be in the office with the rest of my employees, but that I value being able to be here so that when my kids get home from school, I can leave the office and say hi to them and ask them how their day was and not miss out on that part of their lives. And I think that a lot of people work out of fear and don't go after what they want and make changes. And so, having the confidence, kudos to you. I mean, that's absolutely incredible. And I feel like, you know, I could just sit here forever and tell you how great you are, Paula, but I would love to hear from you. What do you want your impact in this industry to be? Like, what do you want your legacy here in trucking and logistics to be?
I'm at that age now. I mean, where, I've been in it for 30 years, and it's really for, I think it's in general, just to understand that the transportation is an industry, everything, food, uh, any product has to get somewhere with wheels. I mean, let's just be honest. It is
Hmm.
one of those, it's like medical in food. It is a for sure temper. And I don't think that enough people think about it. Well, I'm going to grow up. I'm going to go into transportation. I'm going to go into logistics, right? And I think the first thing I would like is for people to understand that this is a great field, that it's a great job in careers for many, many people. And so my whole thing is let's get the word out that this is a great industry. Yes, everything is difficult, but no matter what, but this is a great industry. And I think that's the primary business that I'd like to do it. And at this point in my legacy, I just want women to feel welcomed and to understand. And I've learned a lot through all of the different careers that I've had in transportation, and I'm just ready to share that knowledge. And in my legacy, I have grandkids now. I really want my granddaughters, I have two twin granddaughters and a grandson that's 5. I really want them to understand that you live every day that you're alive, that you're grateful and that you push, that you help people, but you also have a responsibility to provide for your family.
Hmm.
And I take that very, very seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everything you say is just so profound, and I love learning from you. I think a lot of people can learn from you. If any of our listeners are out there that want to, meet Paula, please reach out to me, reach out to her. All of her tags are below. As we wrap up this podcast, I'm going to go into real talk. Now, this is real talk in logistics, where we say the things that don't always get to be said. So, Paula, here's your real talk question. What is something in logistics that we've normalized that shouldn't be normal?
Um, that downtime on trucks. I think that everybody just thinks it's normal and it isn't. And I think that the biggest thing in transportation that you could do is to understand that you have to plan a timeout for your trucks and for your fleet. And if you don't do that, that's when you have breakdowns, right? So if you just, because I've managed a fleet of 400 trucks, breaking down on the side of the road is an exception to the rule. If you are planning your maintenance and your downtime, it's not scheduling you, you're scheduling it.
I mean, well said, because, especially right now in the market with the way that diesel is, a lot of guys are really pushing hard and not scheduling that downtime. But, to your point, it's price versus cost. You either take the time off and rest your truck and let it breathe, or you're going to end up with bigger issues and possibly have to buy a new truck sooner than you wanted to. And I think that that is definitely something that needs to be said. I'm going to take that out of here and I'm probably going to put it all over social media and I'll tag you in it because I feel like, that definitely is something that has not been said. And the rhetoric, especially from fleet owners, I would say is, push, push, push and go, 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 go as fast as you can. But just like humans, trucks need to rest too. So we have to schedule that downtime. I think that that's incredible. Are there any last words for us before we get off of here?
No, I just want to wish you the best of luck, and I'm so proud to be part of this journey with you and really highlighting that women have so many opportunities. And I think that's the point of this call, right? There's so many
Absolutely.
opportunities, and that don't be feeling isolated, but do go into these rooms, understand that you have a point of view, speak your mind, be courageous to speak your mind because it is hard, but be
Yes.
courageous.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? Be courageous and be unapologetic about it because we are all who we are and we all have to live our truths. Thank you so much, Paula. I really appreciate your time. To everyone out there, if today's conversation resonated with you, you are definitely not alone. Go ahead and share this with someone who absolutely needs to hear it. And until next time, keep taking up space. Thanks so much. I'm Hannah Hurckes with Boss Lady Logistics. I'll see you next time.
Bye.